Добрый день. Хочу поблагодарить ОБСЕ, Дуню Мятович, Андрея Рихтера и всех
colleagues for the invitation to take part in this discussion and in this environment of such distinguished professors and other speakers. I would like to say a few words concerning the freedom of internet in the Kyrgyz Republic. My presentation is called Internet Freedom of Kyrgyzstan. In Kyrgyzstan, we have all the prerequisites for free internet. There's absence of any special regulation of information. The websites do not have to register. A registration of the proper name is not required, and the program software for deciphering is freely accessible. In Kyrgyzstan, we have the environment which there's no filter and everyone may be heard, every citizen. This is de jure. I'm saying that there's almost no filter because in the Kyrgyz Republic, 3 of 4 suppliers of internet of the first level are switched to external resource, that is Kazakh Telecom. The 4th supplier is switched to Russia. And this chart, although it cannot be clearly seen, shows, and I've already mentioned that when the government of Russia blocks a site, then this becomes inaccessible for the citizens of Kyrgyzstan. Over several years, Live Journal was blocked in Kazakhstan. You may have heard about that, because the in-laws of President Nazarbayev used this site to post information. And then 3 other suppliers were cut off the Live Journal. Kasparov.ru and Grani.ru were also blocked by Russia, and they were not accessible from Kyrgyzstan either. In Kyrgyzstan, it looks like there's no tabooed items, tabooed issues, but there is a taboo on information coming from external agents, that is our neighbors. In 2014, the Kyrgyz authorities did not attempt to block any sites, but I would like to mention that in 2012, the Fergana.ru was blocked, coming from Russia, because there is one subject which is taboo in Kyrgyzstan, that is the June events. And at that time, this blocking was illegal when the National Parliament adopted a decree and recommended that the government takes measures to block the flow, and that is what the suppliers did. And then it turned out that this was just a recommendation and not a requirement. However, when the state authority recommends something, and this is the authority which has the power to revoke a license, this recommendation was taken as a demand, an order. This problem was fixed when in 2013 we adopted several amendments to our legislation where the materials may be blocked only when the court decides so, and the Procurator General. That is why I say that de jure, Kyrgyzstan is a country which has everything for ensuring pluralism of mass media online. There is no special law regulating internet, and the legislation allows to regulate different relationships. However, there's a grain of salt. Starting from 2009, we have a system of search measures. This is invented by Russia. Russia supplies Central Asia with equipment and hardware for internet, this system is illegal because there is no law to regulate this. One of the features is that the operators have to buy special equipment for their own money, and they provide maintenance. In the draft law, there's no mention of any need to get any authorization for tapping conversations. That is the tapping equipment. Many mention internet or online sources. In Kyrgyzstan, it is clear that it will take time for internet to dominate television. People are still used to get information from television. And I can say that the mass media do not provide access to world information. This includes traditional and non-traditional mass media. We have free of media. However, even with liberal legislation that we have with regard to world events and other events which are shaped by traditional and non-traditional mass media, there are many challenges that are still ahead, and there's a lot of improvement today. I can confirm this if I mentioned the way Ukrainian events are covered. If we have a poll, then the majority will say that in the territory of Ukraine there's a third world war which is about to enact, behind which are the Americans, and Americans should be stopped by Putin. This is a common view, unfortunately, which is very prevalent in different regions where people are relying on Russian telechannels. Our mass media do not have our own correspondence or representations in other countries. Therefore, they just copy the news from internet sites, from foreign internet sites. And Russian television is still popular in Kyrgyzstan, and there is also internet which people can use in order to get alternative sources. However, here we are guided by the views prevalent in the Russian official mass media. This can be also explained, among other things, by language, because most people know Russian, while they have difficulty understanding information in other languages. In 2007, in Kyrgyzstan, there were attempts to develop the block media. However, live journal was blocked. And after that, tension mounted. And maybe you've heard that in 2010 we had revolution and we toppled Bakir's political regime, which persecuted journalists. They were killed, they were beaten, and no one was interested in providing political news. Most journalists focused on entertainment, personal life coverage, etc. So the development of political blogosphere was stifled and did not develop any further because of that. However, today, social networks are becoming more and more popular. Many information agencies reprint or resend different news, and many users are using social networks not only for news, but they also get news information from those social networks, and so people get more information using social networks, including political information. And still, Russian social networks are still very popular as a source, like Odnoklassniks.ru, Mail.ru, Vkontakte.ru. They contain mostly entertainment information, but political content is also developing there. Facebook is not sufficiently developed. However, it is gaining momentum in our country. As I mentioned before, there are no limitations concerning anonymous communication in internet. However, the forums have to be moderated, and those websites that have their own forums for comments, they say that there is a system to shape public opinion with regard to events in Ukraine, geopolitical issues, joining the customs union by the Kyrgyz Republic. We talked with one activist which was against Kyrgyzstan's joining the customs union. He was asked about his attitude, his opinion about Putin, and in conclusion, it was suggested that he gets away from politics because of his views. He was even criticized for supporting the Bandera, the so-called Bandera regime. And the thing is that if you are against our countries joining any union like the customs union, that means that you are supportive of the Bandera regime in Ukraine. Nobody knows who is Bandera and what's behind that. Then I would also like to mention that it is true that there are systems like trolling, that is those who carry out propaganda, and this is paid. This is not something new, but our public, because they are using these networks, they can easily identify those paid commentators. But it is much more difficult to identify those who write international news, who shape international news. When there's one view which dominates, this unfortunately is reflected in different comments, because nobody knows whether you are paid when you make a comment or whether you are making a comment because you feel that way. But most people are influenced heavily by the dominating opinion. There was a meeting gathering 30 people. This was in July, when calls were voiced not to support fascism in Ukraine. And today, if we speak of how the world events are covered, based on the Ukrainian example, we can see that the view which our neighbors will have, this will be the view which will be prevalent in our country. So there is no balance and there is no equitable access to information. This is what I wanted to share with you. I thank you very much. I tried to be brief.